was I going to say? There's a lot of stuff on zines if you Google it. But it's a great pedagogy to get students writing persuasively, informatively, and sharing their writing with others. The first rule of punk is always be yourself, by the way.
Okay.
Dana's made those with students. Oh, that's awesome. Yep. Now you got a cool word for it too.
I know. So I've made books before, but one of the things too is like when I do my citizenship one, I make pocket constitutions where they have to fold them and do them and staple them. So it kind of is part of that bookmaking process too, and also gives them that like kind of hands-on kinesthetic activity too.
Right, and you could even have them use a primary source in it to use the Library of Congress materials, like tell us about voting or something, make a zine about voting and use a primary source in it, and cite your source.
I know, I love having your bibliography on the back, and that's fantastic.
Okay. Yeah.
You are doing amazing. I can't believe how well you are doing.
Yes, you've almost completed this professional development, all of you. Good job.
So hang in there. I am going to go back to share screen, and I want to finish like the end of my other PowerPoint. I had a couple more slides, but I wanted to give you guys a little break there. One thing I want to say is that the Library of Congress, one of the things it's given a big amount of money to is the Tps Teachers Network. And it is a place that we call it kind of, their vision is for it to be a Facebook for teachers using primary sources. That's my language, not theirs. They would never use such basic language, but you join it. There's a login right here. You click on the login, then there's a button over here that says join now. When you just join, there's nothing. You just put in your name and address, and then you hope that, oh, sorry, I should present from current slide. And then you have to hope that you remember what your password was. Mine is saved on there, so if I'm ever at another computer, it's a thing. But I'm just using an example. What they have in there is they have all these different groups that you can join. So they have preschool teacher groups. They have, literacy groups. They have primary teaching groups. They just like have hundreds of groups. We have a group in here called Indiana Participants in TPS or something like that. So you can join that group. But you can search for any kind of group on content. So this particular slide, we were doing something yesterday on the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So we searched for a group, and what happens is anybody can create a group, or you can browse people's groups, and we have these albums. And then you can put pictures in there. So this person has put in pictures that they have found from all over the place for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So we could probably search lighthouses, and we would see what albums lighthouses come up in. So you can see what other people, and you can upload into this from the Library of Congress or from your computer or from any other source, even like YouTube or a presidential library, any place that's a non-copyrighted link that you can put it in. So you can make an album and save all your stuff in it. So again, like next year when you decide, oh yeah, I want to do that lighthouses unit, where did I save all that stuff? You have it there already. So this is like just a great community to join. So I just want to point it out to you. It's a little clunky. It's not as intuitive as Facebook, but it's getting better and better all the time. And what's really cool about when you import your photos and your videos into this is it saves all the metadata. So when you look at your image in your album a year from now, it'll have all the metadata from the catalog entry, and it'll have the link to go back to it. So it's way better than like having a folder that you just throw stuff in, or a spreadsheet that you put a description and the link. You can just upload it into there. So it is worth checking out. And then the last two things that I had here on my slides is I just do want to give a shout out plug for Engaging Congress, which is the free interactive that we developed with funding from the Library of Congress. And we've had funding to do workshops all across the state and all across the country, showing people about using Engaging Congress. And it has 5 thematic stories. These are about voting, federalism, states' rights, the Constitution. And in each one of these stories, the kids have primary sources that they interact with through dragging and dropping. So like here is the picture of the women voting. And on the home page, there would be 3 blocks, and the kids drag over to here, and then it pops into the picture, and they look really closely at the picture, and then they answer a question about it. So here you can kind of see some of the questions here, African Americans voting, and in each of the 6 units, there's a game. So this one is about the federal budget. They learn in the game about federal spending all the way from a picture of the Boston Tea Party to a pie chart of how much money the government spent in 2015. And then this is like the students decide how much money each of the different parts of the government should have. Like how much should we put in agriculture? How much should we put in highways? How much should we put in the Department of Education? And they do a pie chart, and then once they submit it, they hit a button and it compares it with actually how much money the government spends in that section. So this is a game that can be played on either their mobile devices or through the web and through Chromebooks. Again, it uses primary sources. And then the second game that we've developed that came with funding from Indiana University's Bicentennial, and this one is all Indiana-based primary sources. So this one is set up chronologically. It has from early statehood all the way to Hoosiers in the 21st century. And again, it has all of the primary sources only from Indiana. So when it talks about the Civil War, it's Indiana soldiers in the Civil War. When it talks about, World War I, World War II, and the Great Depression, it's only showing images that are from Indiana. And there's a short, like 1.5-minute video to 2 minutes in each section that kind of gives you an overview of Indiana in that time. So it's good for U.S. history classes and for your Indiana history classes. Again, it has mini games, like the mini game for the Civil War is you have to load up a soldier with his backpack, and he's going down to southern Indiana to try to battle with Morgan's Raiders. The one that's for the early period is you're a mill owner, and you have a mill on a river, and you want to have a town built by your river, and you get to your kids swipe right and swipe left to make choices about building their town. The one for the 1940s and 50s is like you're a newspaper editor, and your students have to pick a picture and a headline and a description and like write a story. And then the editor like decides if they've made the best matches. And then the last one is they're a city mayor, and they have to spend money and they have to get through their budget the whole year. So those are just some other resources that the center has for you to use. So I'm gonna escape out of that and close this PowerPoint. And here, sorry. I want to share my screen again and go back to here is the last PowerPoint, and this one is a very short one. And again, you have a session 3 folder. So now we've talked about like demonstrated ways to use primary sources across the curriculum. We've been looking for primary sources to use to make those units, and we've been really talking about inquiry and your students like drawing conclusions from building on the evidence. So now we want to kind of move them to that next level. We want them to actually take some action. So this is, Stephanie's going to jump in here at various times, and this is kind of a second, I have one more book to show you. So remember we talked about going back, what is a lighthouse's job? And then we talked about already, this is just a review slide. We talked about safety, protecting the harbor, protecting the ships and soldiers. We talked about making a curriculum unit out of it. But then I said, we're going to come back to this question. So now the second part of this essential question for you, and this is, I want you to type in the chat box here, is how can a place be a safe harbor? And what kind of places are safe harbors? So I want you to go ahead and share in the text box here. And I really wanted you to try to like think about like when we talk with our students, like about safe, what is safe for them? So can you guys go ahead and do some chatting in our chat box? There's nothing in the chat box right now. You've gone silent. Stephanie, if I can like make the question better. My cat is watching the squirrel run up and down the tree over here. It's quite entertaining. Are we getting some people? Am I just not seeing any chats, or nobody's talking?
I see a lot of them.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop screen sharing real quick, because I think that is like Here we go. Teacher. Oh, great. Teachers can be safe places. It can be a place in your mind. Friends can be your safe place. I teach my students that I am their safe place. I love that so many of you understand how important we are to our teachers. A good book can be a safe place. I love that. A place you can be yourself. And so all of these are this connection to this idea of safe places. And I think some place where you feel that you won't be harmed, people who love and take care of them. That is wonderful. And really what Stephanie and I were thinking of is like we were working on developing this professional development kind of the midst. First of all, we were in the COVID pandemic, and so we had to like switch to online. But then we went kind of to our like, you know, this protest around the country. And we started talking about like we all in elementary school have that community helpers unit. And in the community helpers, who do we always talk about are the safe people. If you need help, who do you always go to look for? And I feel like we always teach them that like policemen are supposed to be a helper, are supposed to be a safe place. But whenever we look at all the young people who have, or people who have died at the hands of the police, it's like, are police still their safe place? Is school a safe place for them if they're being bullied? I mean, is home a safe place for them if they are in a home that is dysfunctional or have, you know, parents who are abusive to each other or to the kids or have trouble of some kind, addiction? So this whole idea of what is a safe place is something that is very different for different kids and different people, and kids of color and kids who are immigrants or, you know, kids in abusive families. So it's just, you know, that whole idea, Stephanie and I were talking about it. And we, in the resources page for this section, I gave you a bunch of kind of different resources of ideas. One is an NPR interview with a child psychologist who is talking about how to talk to kids about the protests. And there's a book that is called When Something Bad Happens in My Town, and it is about the police. We couldn't get copies of that. You know, not surprisingly, that book is signed out. But we did get some copies of this book that's called Race Cars. And this is a book that is a children's book about white privilege and talking about white privilege. And when I found this book and then we ordered it and it came, we hadn't gotten to read it yet. So then it came in the mail and I thought, oh my gosh, this book was written for kids in Indiana because it is talking about white privilege in the context of race cars, a white car and a black car, and they're best friends, and they grow up together, and their dream is to win a race. So of course, think Indy 500 or the Brickyard here in Indiana. And then they enter in the race and they compete in the race. And then the black car does really well. It wins. And the people who are running the race don't like that the black car won. So they start making all these new rules that handicap the black car. And so I'm trying to find a good page that handicaps the black car. I'm looking for the place where there's a sign. Look, so the next year when he runs the race, he sees this new sign, and this sign says that this bridge is for white cars only. And so he has to go through the forest and all the way around. And he still ends up at this race like in second place. So then the next year, there are more rules that are privileging the white cars and his friend, the white car. And at the end, he gets lost and he doesn't make it back. And his friend, the white car, finally wins the race. But then his friend isn't there. So he goes back to look for his friend. And he finds all of these signs that his friend has to take. And so it's kind of the idea that the white car didn't even know these things were happening. And at the end, it has some really good questions about ways to talk about this with your kids. And I mean, I thought it really raised a lot of issues for me and the way that I, as a white person, am trying to talk about this. And the idea that, you know, for many of us who, even though we don't think we're privileged, we really are just because we're white, that it's off our screen, that we don't even know these things are happening. Like the idea with seeing policemen as friends, when a lot of, you know, you hear all these things about even celebrities talking to their, you know, African-American sons about, hey, you know, whenever you're a teenager and you're driving and a policeman pulls you over, like my parents never had to have that talk with me. So I thought that this book, and I don't know if Stephanie wants to jump in if she really thought it was good too, but it's, you know, to help start those conversations.
Thumbs up if you've seen this book. Anybody? Okay. I think it's awesome. And I just wrote in the chat for K through 2, but my daughter who was in 4th grade was like, yes. And you know, being my daughter, she has heard about racism from day one. And she got from the title, Mom, it's race cars. You get it? It's about race. And it took me owning the book for a month to get like, oh, race cars has a double entendre too. So, yeah, I think it explains the barriers, the systemic racism. We talk about racism as an individual thing and we think it's in us, but and it is in certain cases, but also dismantling racism has to do with recognizing how it's in our court system, how it's in our neighborhoods, how it's the segregation of schools. And these are systemic things that we have to overcome as well to be anti-racist. So I think this book does a really good job of explaining the systemic racism that keeps people of color down, and that those are the things that we need to work on in order to have a less racist society. So anyway, love it.
And so there's a few other books that are, I think it's from Dragon series, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but I have it in your list. Let's see. You know, this is what always happens to me. I start off with really neat stacks, and by the time we get to the end of the day, my stacks are kind of Teach Your Dragon about diversity is another one that I put that in the Something Happened in Our Town. So some other ideas. But so I'm going to kind of go back to the C3 framework here, and we've kind of talked about developing questions and planning inquiry. We've really talked about applying it across the curriculum. We've worked on gathering sources. So now we're going to work on kind of that last dimension of taking informed action. So I went online and I found this. I have seen a lot of things with the remote learning that happen. How many of you in your chat boxes, and Stephanie, share it with me since mine aren't showing up real well, have used some kind of choice board activity during this last semester? Have a lot of people use some sort of choice boards, you know, for me and
Liz, Nora, yes.
So more in high school and higher ed, it's like, wow, discovered choice boards and I love them.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of did this choice board again with this idea of like started with the lighthouse and then, you know, working to what places are, you know, the lighthouse's job is to keep the community and the sailors safe. And then the idea of like, where is a safe place for you? And then we tried to like, you know, move this to like taking some action. So you can see on the choice board, we tried to do like and again, like meeting different kids' needs, find a place, a picture of someplace you feel that's safe, like talk about when you might want to use it, what rules does your classroom have. And look, I was so proud of myself. I found the safe place icon and gave them that as the free place, you know, create a picture, draw a map and mark your safe place on it. Are there times you don't feel safe? Write about why the place makes you feel safe, but then we want them to take action. We want them to do something that kind of extends beyond just them. So here our idea was that they could write a note to someone asking to help make a place safer. So, and could be like, you know, they could talk to their parents. You never know. Like sometimes these things come out from kids. They could write a note to you or to the principal about something at school or to their community. Like they could write a note to the mayor saying, hey, you know, the street lights are out in my neighborhood. And in the morning when I go to get on the school, I feel scared because it's so dark, right? So the idea that their voice can have an action, and we talk about, you know, they could take an action that's like they could organize like a protest or a march of some kind, like we were talking about before. Stephanie, this is like really one of the areas your brain explodes with great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Jump in and share some other ideas and have other people in the chat box. I'm going to jump back so I can see the chat. The ideas about how you could have, what kind of action could your students take around this idea?
Yeah, put something in the chat about some civic action that your students could do to make their school, their classroom, or community a safer place. This is my area of research, is youth civic action. And I'm just writing a proposal to interview youth who in the Black Lives Matter movement. So I would love to hear your ideas about even, stopping bullying, right? This could be a campaign in your classroom. I've seen one group in a classroom that I was researching start a Fuzzy Buddies club. It's all on their own to stop bullying in their classroom, but to just position them that kindness matters. Yep, step up, speak up. Love it.
That idea too about bullying is that some people don't even realize what bullying is, like that systemic racism, like the idea that you know that they aren't even recognizing that some of this behavior is bullying to some.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, that raising that awareness.
Right.
And again, the idea of actually doing something. Hi, Delaney's cat is back.
Love that, Hillary, creating a contract, and I talk a lot about in my classes creating a democratic classroom ethos and not using punitive and public measures that lead to the cradle to prison pipeline again, and more often put children of color and people of color in the principal's office, but empower them to speak up and have a voice in your classroom.
Charity, I love the Leader in Me program to have the students take more.
Oh, neat.
Their classroom.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, so the levels of hate, and I mean, that is one that you can just tie. You tie it to World War II, but we can tie it to so many things.
Right. Look at historically into these issues of discrimination and privilege, right?
I love like the support for children with love.
Oh, yes.
Or dealing with addictions. That
Mm-hmm.
one, like that is something like that your kids could make books that, you know, could go in the waiting room for like the kids where they go to get to visit with their parents who are in jail. They have like these family rooms and stuff like that. These are
Angie's class reached out to local organizations too. Angie and I are writing a chapter on that for the new C3 framework book on how kids can take action, that they can brainstorm issues in their community, and we can connect them with local organizations, or they can find them on their iPad and they can take action on them if we support them in that process.
Exactly.
Yep, addiction. Yeah, that was one of the issues in Angie's classroom that the kids came up with in a brainstorm.
And especially I found my daughter struggled with eating disorders, and we found the help and she started, and I didn't even know it whenever she was like in 5th grade, so very young, and it wasn't until she was a sophomore in high school. And just the help that there is, and we found there is very little help in Indiana for kids with eating disorders. And I mean, just amazing how these things are just kind of right under our noses and we don't even know about. So really the point of this action and this idea, and this is one that where Stephanie and I became like such good meeting of the minds, that we are both just so focused on the idea that this action that we model so much civic action in our schools and in our behavior as teachers, but we don't always articulate it. We don't show the kids and articulate that this behavior, this making contracts, this writing a note to the principal, this doing this is something that should continue all through school and then out into their adult lives. Like those same things they're doing in the school where they're learning, you know, to manage their behavior in school is something that they take into the workplace. Or when they advocate to have like a longer recess, that why aren't they advocating Why aren't adults advocating for, new streetlights, getting the potholes filled? That all this is like taking action and being active members of their community. They learn it all through school, and so many of them drop it. Like, you're amazing. All these kids who are class president of the student council, are involved in Bring Puppies to School programs, run the food drive. They leave high school and then they never do any of those things again. And so it's like we have to get them to get used to doing these actions and then take them with them out into the world.
Yes. And at the end of any unit of study, we have this information. We have the ability to take action on our informed action. And that's what the C3 framework reminds us, that the last step, we can invite students to take informed action on what they know. So whatever study you're doing, and Brittany and I were chatting on the side, her and Delaney are doing a unit of authors of people of color. So I was kind of steering it to, so how have people of color taken action for justice over our history through writing? So she wants to focus on authors specifically. And then, so what? So what do we do with it? So the question would be then, how can we connect with activists or people of color that are activists or authors? And what can we learn from them, or what can we do? How can we support them? So I feel like it's such a good reminder to position kids as active agents in society and not just passive recipients of knowledge, that last step.
Okay, so I wanted you to make a choice board, but we are not going to have time for a choice board. It sounds like a lot of you guys are doing them anyway. And I just wanted to make sure when you're doing their choice boards, like have a research choice, like find a picture, have an action activity, have a writing choice, but really then that's something where they implement what they've learned. And what I wanted to do is, first of all, this is like my closing slide, but I'm gonna like go backwards and show you the other things. I just love this picture, is like from the Women's March. And this was in Indianapolis, why I march, because I'm the future of the kid. And now we could probably find a better one to use with the I Can Breathe or Black Lives Matter or something. But I want to go back and show you a couple of resources on the sheet that is in your packet. You have a great interview with Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress, who is African American, with Jacqueline Woodson and Jason, I'm blanking now.
Alexander.
Yes. And they're talking about their books and about kids and stuff, and it's fantastic. And then there's that NPR interview, and then there are those books. But I want to kind of show you these couple of videos kind of about taking action, a couple resources. So one of the videos I have are those, and they were both Library of Congress Young People Ambassadors, Jacqueline Woodson and Jason Alexander, and the book's Race Car. But I want to show you these two things that are on our website that were done long before I joined the center. So here I go again. Oh, sorry, I'm going to open up the page. And then I'm going to go back to the share with you. Sorry, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm like losing I was on a roll there of having my technology down. Okay, so this is the Center on Congress website, and you can see like Engaging Congress and Citizen are both in the interactives and in the games and apps. But I want to show you a couple of videos that we have on this page, and this one is a riot. It is a video that's called Lunch with Dr. Broccoli. It's 8 minutes long. And it's an animated video that talks about the importance of compromise. And I'm just gonna, I didn't click the button to share my audio when I was sharing my Zoom, so I'm not gonna bother to click it. But Dr. Broccoli is like the psychologist, and like the people who are sitting at the meeting, one of them is a lion, and and then these other people, and like the lion, he sees all the rest of them as lunch. And so it's talking about, like how they should compromise, and he shouldn't want to eat them for lunch. But it's really good. It's only 8 minutes long. It's a really kind of a fun video that I think your kids will smile at and laugh, but has this really good message about the importance of discussion and learning how to compromise and getting the issue that's out there. Getting the lion to say that every time he thinks about it, he looks at them as he's looking at a steak. So I think that you might find that useful. And then we have about 20, oh, those are the Engaging Congress videos, and then there's the citizen videos, which aren't up there yet. Very interesting. I need to know why. But then we have 20 of these 1-minute kind of facts of Congress. And depending on kind of what you're talking about, like the federalism one, federalism is a really hard concept for kids, but it uses a cake. And the cake is a layer cake. And they cut the layer cake, and it talks about like who decides local, state, and federal. So if some of your kids are interested in like who collects our trash versus who's running the lighthouse type thing, it kind of in just the 60 seconds gives good explanation. But the ones that I think about taking informed action is this short one on citizen participation and becoming an informed citizen. They're only 60 seconds long, and they have kind of these animated bean people. And so I think there's something that the kids can relate to and kind of gets them in that mindset of themselves as citizens and ways that they can take action. So those are just, you know, some other things to put in your tool bag. So Stephanie, I think it's 1:33, so maybe you were heading for 1:30, so that's pretty good for me.
Okay. Should I do a little tiny bit of teaching tolerance?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sounds good. So my question to you is, now that we have just like we've made ourselves cheerleaders of the Library of Congress resources, raise your hand if you've used the Teaching Tolerance website before. Thumbs up. Can you put something in the chat, like what you've used of Teaching Tolerance before? What resources? I'm going to bring it up.
How do I take my hand clapping off?
You can clap for me. I'll take it.
I did. I clapped and then I just took it off.
Okay. Do you see the Teaching Tolerance webpage right here? Is that what you see?
Yes, we do.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so go to tolerance.org, everybody. So my question to you is, if you think the Library of Congress has awesome resources, I just want to see if the chat on the side, you've used it. Oh boy, our chat is so long. Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay, sounds like some of you have visited it, but not as a teaching tool. So right here, I want you to notice that it's very timely topics. Let's go to classroom resources. I just want you to notice that, sorry, it's getting flashy for me. Student texts, they have curated thousands and thousands and thousands of student texts, and I mean videos, I mean photographs, I mean like fiction, historical fiction stories, you name it. So let's put in like voting or something, and you will see that there's photos, there's interviews, the StoryCorps project, there are lesson plans. So go ahead and put in there something that you're studying next year. Authors of color. I'm thinking of Brittany and Delaney.
By the way, StoryCorps is all archived.
That is awesome. So suffice to say that they even have children's level texts in there. So there are so many resources in the student texts that you can use. There's also student tasks, and this kind of relates to the C3 framework in that they want them to do something, write to a source, and let's click do something. And there's all types of ways in which they can show you, like a performance task, what they know. Be the change, I love this one. They can identify and investigate a community problem and propose a solution. A buddy share, to share their feelings with someone, a collage of concerns, and then they have a rubric on this in which you can grade them. One more quick thing on this resource. There's so many classroom resources here, but I just want to point out frameworks. Via Liz, I got an email last week from our state superintendent, Jennifer McCormick, and I think they're looking at anti-bias, anti-racism resources for this at the state level. And she said, do you have any anti-racist frameworks? And I said, yes, you should look at the Teaching Tolerance Social Justice Standards. They're organized around 4 major themes, and they're around identity, diversity, justice, and action. And that kind of maps onto the C3 framework. So I just wanted to share that real quick. I think your brains are probably really full, but I almost want to say it's almost just as good as the Library of Congress. That's just an awesome resource for you. And you can subscribe to the Teaching Tolerance magazine too, which you can get sent to your home or your school for free. I love it. It's inspiring and free. Should we do the raffle? Anything else? I got all these names. Any questions?
Do I get the lunch gift card?
I don't know, Liz. If your name is not in here, though, I'm just going to make sure that you have, because I have to send these to you all. I know it's different than getting your professional development points via email and your lunch gift card via snail mail. And then if you win the Amazon raffle, you'll get it via your snail mail too. So make sure in the link that I just sent that you have entered your summer mailing address so we can get this to you. Does that sound good? So if you have registered up until like late last night, somebody registered. So, oh, the evaluation, thank you. One more thing, I need to post. The Library of Congress is having you do an evaluation, and I need to post that. So if you could hold on just 1 second, I need to post that link.
And it does not come back to us. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've never gotten a single bit of information from the Library of Congress about
Okay.
the evaluations. They use it just internally, so you don't have to worry. I mean, don't say things about us unless you really mean them. But
here's the URL for the survey. Please do this survey. I don't think it's very long. If you could go ahead and start that right now, that'd be great. I'll give you a minute. So if you attended the whole thing, I think you'll get 4 PGPs, right, Liz?
yes.
Yeah. And that will be sent to email for you. Okay, are you ready? These are all the names. I just cut them up on from a Microsoft Excel sheet. And this is in good faith that you'll finish that survey too, please. Okay, so winner number 1, I'm not looking. Cassie Trimble, are you online? You have to be present to win. Woohoo, she says. Okay, first name, number 2 winner. You get a $20 gift certificate to Amazon. All of you who are chosen here. Elizabeth Green, are you online? Woohoo. Okay, number 3. Amanda Glick. Give us a woohoo or something.
So Amanda, it says Ellie on your screen.
Okay. Explain yourself. What, you have 2 names like my daughter?
Ellie is my daughter. She set up the Zoom on my computer.
I love
she
it.
has to go and change it.
So so Stephanie, do you know how you are in the system? I think we are in as Center on Representative Government.
Mm-hmm. Is there IUPUC, Hillary?
Is there IUPUC?
No, there's no IUPUC. I put other and then typed it in.
Thank you. Yeah, just put other and type it in, please. IUPUC. Thank you for asking. I don't see some of these, the end of some of these. Madison Tinkle!
Yay, Madison!
Yay, Madison. I know she's there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5. Kara Mance. I do not think she's here. Right? Okay. Number 5 again. Trying again. Nora Mitchell? Can we get a whoop whoop from Nora? I don't think so. Oh, you all are like rubbing your hands together. You're like, better. You think she is, Kristen?
Yeah, I can see her on the video.
Nora, she's talking. Yes. Okay, Nora. Yes. You're in, Nora. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nora's like, wait. Okay. Hillary. Congratulations. Whoop whoop. That's for all, like, a lot of you are doing mom and professional duty today. That's for all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7. Jody Coors. Jody? Jody couldn't come. Hillary, unmute.
Sorry.
No,
I haven't
Jody.
seen Jody. I didn't see
Okay.
Jody today.
Okay. Trying again. Oops. Angie Kirkham. 1, 2, 3.
Yay!
Sorry, there's no conflict of interest here. I work closely with Angie and do research in our classroom, but I promise that was totally random. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 more. Yes, the gift certificates will be snail mailed. Denise Wampler? Yes, you are here. Wampler D is her name. Congratulations, Denise. Okay, next one. Ryan Cox, are you here? No. Kirsten says no. Okay. Next. 2 more. Jill Cohen? No? Okay. Number 8, trying again. Michaela! Michaela Smallwood, good job.
Yay! You can buy books, baby.
1 more. Dana Schmidt. Woohoo! Awesome. Congratulations, all of you. Any last business items, Liz, Kirsten, Kristen, all the moderators there?
I think that you guys did a fabulous job. I mean, I can't believe how well all of your technology worked. Most of you were on the whole time. We saw your pictures. I mean,
Yes. Can you all give us a rose and thorn, like something that you loved about this and then something we can improve for next time below? Do you mind?
That would be
Because
helpful.
we'll get the Library of Congress feedback, but this would be really immediate, helpful for us.
And Stephanie, don't count on getting the Library of Congress feedback. I've never gotten any.
I know.
So,
We're just using their money today.
well, thank you for saying how I shared my screen, because I've really been struggling with how to do that and be kind of successful, not look so awkward and horrible at it.
Liz, I got a question from Brittany about the map that you shared didn't have the correct United States, and you said there's a reason for that. Can you share why?
I don't remember what we're talking about here.
I don't know. You shared some map of the U.S. and you said, well, the states aren't right. Brittany,
It was
maybe-
in the first session, and it was the map that was after the Indiana railroads maps when we were talking about ONI.
So it was just a map of the U.S., right?
Yeah. And Indiana
the
was labeled
states were
West
all in the
Virginia.
wrong places.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
They were all labeled the wrong thing.
I wonder if where I grabbed it from, if it was supposed to be like a test thing that kids are supposed to
Right.
put back in the right place. Well, thank you. I'm making a note. Change that.
The scrambled states of America would be a good lesson on that. We'll just hold on one more minute here while we get all this feedback. And I'm going to share one more book with you all.
We would have liked to have more breakout sessions, but we were trying to like keep down to that 45, 50 minutes to give you guys time to get up. I mean, I just think I have to make you get up and move whenever we're sitting here in front, because it isn't as good as when you're in, you know, if we were sitting in the same room and you needed to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle, you just would. But like when you're on Zoom and you have to like get up and stand and leave, like nobody like wants to be that one.
Nobody gave us some negative or some feedback to work on for next time. You guys can lay it on us. We have no pride. We'll still do it. We'll Delaney, go for it. So anyway, I wanted to share the best professional book I've read this summer. It's called These Kids Are Out of Control, Why We Must Imagine and Reimagine Classroom Management for Equity. And this is about how students of color are more likely disciplined and sent to the principal's office, and how we can recenter ourselves in justice-oriented approaches.
And what was the name again,
The
Stephanie?
paperwork was a lot. I put it in the chat. These kids are out of control. Why we must reimagine classroom management for equity. And we are doing that at IUPUC as the pre-student teaching cluster, a group read. And a lot of the faculty are reading it too at IUPUC, just in case you're looking for an inspiring book for the summer and classroom management is a topic of your interest. Yeah, the paperwork is, and that's beyond me. I can't see it. I don't know, like, but I can lead you to the right people. Carrie Butler, keep pushing her, or there was a link in there too about an email that can help you. All right. Awesome job, people. Thank you so much for making this dream come true, and I hope it filled you up with tons of ideas. There's a handout in there on teaching tolerance resources. There's a handout in there on the C3 framework too. Thank you all. Have an awesome summer and keep up the social studies teaching for young people.
That's right. Yes. Incorporate that social studies, and good luck to the pregnant ladies.
Yes.
Bye, Stephanie.
Bye, everybody. Happy summer.
Bye, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Keep in touch. I'll email some gift certificates. Bye, Ebony. Good luck.